This is the 13th in my series on art at the Wadsworth Atheneum. This week we are moving on to European art. The Morgan wing at the Wadsworth has paintings that are arranged in tier on tier in the manner of European galleries of the 18th and 19th centuries. The next painting shows that. I'm not sure how the staff chose which paintings to hang next to each other, but it looks very impressive and surprisingly coherent. On the other hand, it's very difficult to study the separate works, much less take photos of them. But we'll try. To identify what the paintings are, you have to look at one of the labels on the stands, like this one here, which shows you the paintings, and then you link them up to the captions below. All right, this is the painting that I said looks like the Morgan wing at the Wadsworth. It's by Giovanni Paolo Panini, the picture gallery of Cardinal Silvio Valenti Gonzaga, painted in 1749. This is the way paintings were typically displayed in the 18th and 19th centuries in private collections and at the French Salon. Panini did a number of paintings of similar galleries. I suppose I shouldn't complain about not being able to see the higher paintings in the Morgan wing, because in this gallery the walls seem to be half again as high. If this is a normal-sized person, that's, 20 feet? Next up, a painting that's probably from the mid-1600s by Carlo Dolci, Saint Sebastian. Dolci specialized in religious paintings. Like many Baroque artists, he's done an amazing job of representing glowing skin. Rubens is famous for that, was probably the guy who first did it really well. If you look in Innovators in Painting, you'll see about that. The close-up view of the saint and the somber tones are, on the other hand, reminiscent of Caravaggio, who died in 1610. Caravaggio had no students, but a hell of a lot of followers and imitators, and you can see the chapter on him in Innovators in Painting. This is by Evaristo Basquenes, or his workshop, still life with musical instruments, sometime between 1625 and 1675. Baroque still lifes have a sharpness and clarity that I find very appealing. It helps that in this case the subject, musical instruments, appeals to me as well. Basquenes, 1617 to 1677, an Italian, was famous for this type of subject. The painting contains none of the reminders of mortality that the Dutch like to sneak into their Baroque still lifes. Jumping ahead 100 years or so, this painting by Constance Meyer is a self-portrait with her father from 1801. Meyer trained with a French artist named Greuze, whose works are often cloyingly sentimental. She eventually went to study with Jacques-Louis David, an eminent neoclassicist, and she adopted his sharper style, but she still painted rather sentimental subjects. This painting has a didactic edge. Its full title is Self-Portrait with the Artist's Father. He points to a bust of Raphael, inviting her to take this celebrated painter as a model. The Wadsworth's painting reminds me of a portrait by Marie-Denise Villers at the Metropolitan Museum, which also dates to 1801. Like the painting that we're looking at here, it was once attributed to a male artist because who'd have thunk a woman could paint like that? This is by Fyodor Alexeyev, reception of Count Georgy at the Ducal Palace in Venice. It probably dates to the early 1800s, like the one we just looked at. According to the Wadsworth label, this is a copy of a painting by Canaletto, who's famous for exactly this sort of painting. After Alexeyev had studied for a few years in Italy, his contemporaries back in Russia dubbed him the Russian Canaletto. Tsar Paul I assigned Alexeyev to create views of the streets and architecture in Moscow. I've given you links to that in the blog post. Moscow is certainly a long way from Venice, architecturally and spiritually. It's really interesting to see the difference in the paintings. This is a John Trumbull painting from 1834 called The Death of General Warren at the Battle of Bunker's Hill, June 17, 1775. We have seen two of Trumbull's works in the Wadsworth's American galleries, a portrait that he did of Jeremiah and Daniel Wadsworth and a view of Niagara Falls. This is the first of Trumbull's grand paintings celebrating the American Revolutionary War. Trumbull was serving in the Continental Army when he saw this scene play out at the Battle of Bunker Hill. He painted it in the grand European manner, modeled on The Death of General Wolfe, a famous 1770 painting by Benjamin West, who was an expat American. Trumbull made several copies of the Death of General Warren, one of which is in the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. And this is a sculpture in the hallway near the Morgan wing. It's called Pereat, which in Latin means let him perish, and it was sculpted by Orazio Andreoni in 1892. Rather than showing a Roman gladiator in the arena at a critical moment, Andreoni shows two women who behave very differently, but both of whom seem to be fiercely condemning the man to death. It's an interesting sculpture from all angles, and it shows a good knowledge of anatomy, including the gestures and the expressions that convey emotion. In case you haven't guessed that they're giving a verdict at a gladiatorial contest, the artist has put a helmet and a sword on the base of the pedestal, and he's even given you a bas-relief showing you the fighters in the Colosseum. DianeDurantewriter.com has hundreds of posts on sculpture, painting, architecture, and my other obsessions. To join the free Sunday Recommendations email list, visit the URL that's on your screen or email me. And you can say, "Well done, Diane," or support my work and receive rewards by means of the tip jar on DianeDurantewriter.com. As always, thank you for listening.